Excuse me, sorry, I needed to record the webinar, so it's recording now. So hi guys, welcome to veganNation, the first decentralized nation for vegans, uniting us around a shared economy. We will learn more about what veganNation is as the webinar goes on, but I wanted to start first with describing the current system in the world, how things are working out right now, what blockchain brings to the table at this critical stage in human evolution, and how it applies to veganNation and utilized by our platform. So let me start by describing what are the ramifications, the effects, and the reality of having the giant data companies like Google, Apple, and Facebook control the market, what it does to our world, what it does to us, what it does to the planet, etc. So a lot of it, the first few slides is based on the book by George Gilder called Life After Google, where he discusses the reality that will come after these giants disappear. And it's clear to him that, sorry, something was messed up, share screen. Okay, hi guys. So he discusses, it's very clear to him that Google will disappear, Facebook will disappear, Apple will disappear, and what's going to be after? So first we take a look at what happens now that Google and Facebook and Apple are at the top of the pyramid. So I'm just going to describe to you a few facts based on his book. So Google, Facebook, and Apple, what do? They do this thing called focus on users. They give you amazing communication tools. They give it to you for free. And I say free with quotation marks because there's nothing free in this world. Maybe it's with no charge, no fiat money charge, but it's not free. Free usually means insecure. It means unchangeable from the top. It means that it's basically, it's built and it's here to service us on a golden plate, if you may. And we all know the crazy security breaches that we're, witnesses to on a daily basis. Google Plus had a major security breach reported on October 9th, but it was kept a secret for 2 years. Facebook, Cambridge Analytica, and most recently its 50 million accounts were compromised and sensitive data is out there. So when they say focus on user experience, let's give them stuff for free, upload your photos to Google Drive for free. It's not free. It's without a fiat money charge, but it's by no means free, and it has great ramifications on our life on a daily basis. Also, the giant data companies, they do one thing really, really well. Facebook does social media really, really well. Google does communications really, really well. Apple makes us computers and iPhones really, really well. They all have their niche, and they basically own the market with it. They also believe that I'm continuing on with stating the facts of having the giant data companies rule the world at the moment. So they have this philosophy that fast is better than slow, even if humans can never keep up. So we have this really high-speed data coming at us from servers all over the world, gathering data from these giant tech companies, and you see a whole new markets like high-frequency trading, which actually skews the market and creates extreme volatility. Right now, because information is moving so fast, you have ×5 of the world's total GDP traded in Forex on a given day. So that shows you that, the high-speed data creates an inflation, creates unrealistic expectations of the market and users as well. So another thing the giant tech companies emulate is that, democracy is great, democracy is amazing, but keep it on the web. Google is a hierarchy and they rule. Apple is a hierarchy and they rule. Facebook is a hierarchy and they rule. It's not really a democracy. It's fake democracy as long as it's on the internet. They are of the mindset also that there's always new information out there and we can get it for free by providing our services away to users. So they manipulate the info we get for better and more targeted ads. They sell the data like Facebook did with Cambridge Analytica. They manipulate and polarize societies everywhere. We see it with the Rohingya fleeing in the Far East. We see it in Syria, that, so much of the terrorist activity is happening on Facebook. So much of the polarization of society happens because of the giant data companies constantly feeding us the information they think we want to see and the information they think will be the most helpful for us to see. Another big ramification of having these giant tech companies is that they come with massive computational needs. So when we hear the cloud and Apple's cloud services, what is it? It's far away from being a cloud. It's actually just server farms where you have massive structures hosting millions and millions of servers that are basically massive warehouses that are running 24/7, 365 days a year, constantly running their algorithms, and nobody can compete with them because nobody could just get up one day and buy a huge factory and fill it up with millions of servers and compete with Google's computational power. Google has roughly 8 server farms like these, and the giant tech companies, which is basically like 3 or 4 companies, they're expected to be responsible for 14% of the global emissions by 2030. They are on track to be responsible for 1/5 of electrical consumption power by 2025. So you can see how much power these technologies that are not really necessary are taking up the valuable resources locked up in our planet. So they continue with this aggressive motto, and they believe and they act on it every day with the belief that information crosses all borders and we are citizens of the world, but with Google Translate, because you cannot communicate with anyone without using Google Translate. They're also, you can be serious without a suit. You better wear denim, but give us your username, your password, your social security, your mother's maiden name, your favorite singer, your first home address, your digital image, name of a dog, sample DNA, and so on and so forth. They're acting like they're cool and, oh, we're not that serious, but they're asking us to trust us with the most serious and sensitive information. Google always says, great isn't good enough. We are casually great. We are cosmically great. Their ego is evident wherever you go. And you see a decline in innovation, a decline in new companies coming to the market because they control this massive market, this massive pool of data. You see 90% decline in IPOs in the last 10 years. So we have reached a point where there's no competition with the giant data companies, giant tech companies. They are ruling the market. They are manipulating societies all over the world, and they are getting billions and billions of dollars through ads and micro-targeting of its users based on the data they have gathered from them. So that brings us to this new era called cryptocosm. I'll define it how George Gilder, the author of Life After Google, defines it. And he says cryptocosm refers to this amazing providential efflorescence of creativity that erupted all around the world to supply a new architecture for the internet, and indeed, ultimately, a new architecture for the entire world economy. Now, that sounds super optimistic and super ideological. So I'd like to take a deeper dive and see how exactly cryptocosm has this immense potential to transform and disrupt the status quo as we know it today. The new system, cryptocosm, its very first philosophy is focus on security, and nothing is free. Security is not only a procedure, it's an architecture that has mathematical and programmatical implementations in its technology. It has an internal natural truth known as biological asymmetry, where you cannot do, I'll give you a simple example where it's not a vegan example, but if you take an egg and you boil it, but then you take that boiled egg and you want to turn it back to its original state, you cannot. You can only take a non-boiled egg and boil it, but you can never take a boiled egg and unboil it. So with that idea in mind, let's look at what this new security architecture for the internet and for the entire world economy looks like. So it uses an idea called asymmetric encryption, where public ledgers, everybody gets to see them, everybody gets to maintain them, everybody gets to access them. And the way transactions are committed to this public network is by asymmetric encryption. If you look at the diagram over here, I have my mouse over here, you have a plain document. True. That's true. Next time I'm going to use a more vegan example. You can take a potato and cook it, but you cannot take a cooked potato and uncook it. So here you can see a plain text, and every user has a public key and a private key. The private key is actually the raw data. It has control over a user's funds and assets. And the public key is basically a function done on that private key, and it's safe to send it out to the world because based on the public key, you can never decipher what the private key was because it uses asymmetrical hash functions. So let's understand high level what it means. So here you have a plain document text that has maybe your birth date, your name, your last name, and your bank account information. And you want to send that information to someone, but you want to send it over the blockchain network in a secure manner. So what you do is you get your receivers, the person who is supposed to receive your document, you get their public key, you encrypt this document with their public key, and you send it over to them. And basically what they get is a closed up envelope. And then they have their own private key that they could operate on this decrypted information and turn it back into its original state. So based on this very simple security architecture, the whole blockchain world exploded. And what it understood and what it made the world understand is centralization is inherently not safe. When you have an institution like a bank, like a giant tech company, like a government in charge of all data concerning social media or accounting or regulations in IRS and tax returns, you will have a lack of transparency. And when a few people are in charge of such massive amounts of data and information, you are bound to see corruption and abuse of that power. So let's look at the current status quo. Banks like JP Morgan were hacked several times in the last 5 years. Billions of dollars were stolen, and JP Morgan takes money they earn, and they basically spend roughly $9 billion on cybersecurity alone, just, to defend themselves from hacks and defend themselves from bad actors. They are so big that so much money goes into just security, where we, the people, humanity has come up with a technology known as blockchain, where we could all transfer money in the most secure manner known to mankind to date. Bitcoin, one Bitcoin is worth more than any fiat currency in the world right now, and it's transferred all over the world, all over its 33 plus servers all over the world safely, and everybody agrees that transactions have occurred and there's consensus throughout. the U.S. government had over 50 million citizens' Social Security and other private information stolen by the Chinese. Facebook users' sensitive data compromised several times in the last few years. It's no secret. There's too many to list here. The idea of a user owning their own private key is essential to how we are going to look at user data, user ownership, what it means to have privacy and ownership of your belongings. So ownership, a true ownership, is holding an account's private key. You are in charge. People are like, oh, it's so not user-friendly to have your user key, your private key stored safely, and I'm in charge of it, and what if I lose it? I lose all the money. Yes, it's your responsibility to put your private key on a USB, store it in a safe place, and be in charge of your own account. You don't have to trust a third-party provider to manage the keys for you. Blockchain, the idea of blockchain is to create a secure foundation for customers to do many, many things really, really well. Look at the Ethereum network, for example. The whole idea that Vitalik came up with is provide people with the blockchain infrastructure to build services in a distributed manner with decentralization of power. And he did that. And he created a whole new programming language to help us program smart contracts and fantastic new decentralized apps. And there's a massive boom of innovation happening right now all over the world thanks to Ethereum and Bitcoin and new and upcoming projects. Blockchain recognizes the primacy of human scale over computer gigahertz. 10,000 times slowdown through blockchain brings frequencies into the acoustic range. That's where humans can hear what's going on, and only humans matter. When I was once a JP Morgan employee, and I was a software engineer on their trading platform, and every millisecond was extremely important, and so many algorithms were making money off of the 0.001 second that the market of arbitrage that the market did not have time to fix, and they capitalized on it. And this is the status quo. Computers moving way too fast for us to comprehend, for us to know. These massive supercomputers are owned by huge companies, and we see massive income inequality rise, and there's real problems when there's only a few computers in charge of so much data that is moving too fast for us to comprehend. So it's a good thing that it takes 10 minutes for the Bitcoin blockchain to synchronize all of its ledgers all over the world. It's a good thing that it takes a few minutes to see your transaction posted to the Ethereum network. It's not a bad thing. It slows us down. We all need to slow down, and we have to look at what's happening. But there's a funny saying that behind every private key and its public key, there's a human interpreter. There's a very strong focus on individual human beings and making meaningful security for human beings, not for corporations and for people at the top. Time is what remains scarce when all else becomes abundant. The speed of light and the span of life is, when you strip everything away, that's what left. And those are the basic philosophical building blocks that blockchain was built upon. It takes time to solve a block on the Bitcoin network. It takes time to send transactions over the network. Everything takes time, and that time is worth money. And we see, you know, the slowing down of society, you know, makes it more worthwhile. One Bitcoin is worth more than any other currency all over the world. I have a question for you guys. Don't you think that information should be owned by its creators and not by its distributors? Nothing is free. And when you use Google, when you use Facebook, you are giving them your information. That is what they get in return for giving you free platform. Blockchain is the exact opposite. Everything is owned by you. The private key is on you. Data you send is hashed and encrypted, and nobody could hack into it, and only you have the original copy of anything, of any data of any sort. We don't care what you wear. We don't care if you're serious or not. You can conduct transactions without committing personal data to an insecure network. It is simply a way for anyone to send secure transactions over the network. We don't care if you say, we don't need to know. It's irrelevant if you're serious or not. There's the trust is in its mathematical formulas and its technological infrastructure, both of which are open source and open for the public to see and inspect. Blockchain provides an architecture of security and time-stamped factuality, which enables our customers to be great. The platform itself is not great. They provide us the infrastructure to allow each one of us to be great. The majority actually rules when it comes to blockchain as well. There's 51% voting power. You know, that's when forks happen. That is, you know, the consensus algorithm that drives Bitcoin and Ethereum is what makes distribution of power possible. So far, there has been $20 billion worth of ICOs. That's an innovation boom, and that's a direct response to the 90% decline in IPOs that we've seen this last decade. So when people are like, oh, so many ICOs out there, they're all a scam. yeah, there are many ICOs that took advantage of the hype that happened for the last 2.5 years, and they abused it. However, the innovation cannot be ignored and it cannot be dismissed. Smart contracts is what drives blockchain technology forward, and it's the main feature of the Ethereum network. A smart contract is basically a program running on a blockchain that facilitates, verifies, and enforces arrangements between parties in an algorithmic manner. Smart contracts can help you exchange money, property, shares, anything of value in a transparent, conflict-free way while avoiding the services of a middleman. So now, real estate companies are looking into tokenizing their real estate assets so that when you want to buy an apartment, it's simply purchasing the apartment through an agreed smart contract and sending crypto money over the network. And that gets rid of brokers, of banks, of massive overhead that slows down the real estate market significantly. They're basically, you could think of smart contracts as microservices that act like autonomous agents. They're like vending machines. Basically, you execute an action only if there's a majority. So there's a voting. You manage agreements between users, and you use an escrow account. You cannot interact with it like, if you do this, I'll do this. No, there's input, a black box, and an output. You provide utility to other contracts. You could store information. You could do anything with the smart contracts that you choose, but it's sort of like a black box. It's a microservice where it gets fed information and it spits out information. And every information that comes in and out is documented on the public network of public ledgers that is maintained by the communities. So now we have to start talking about the trust economy, because we spoke about the current system that is totally centralized, and then the new blockchain economy that has erupted that, you know, is starting to build amazing blockchain networks everywhere. So we come into this trust economy where trust is everything, and trust is monetized and commoditized. And so I want to say now a disclaimer about blockchain and crypto, that if you go by this statement, you will always be able to tell if an ICO is legit or not. No, a blockchain is only as good as the community behind it using and maintaining it. The same can be said of a cryptocurrency. A cryptocurrency generates its value from the community behind it. So Bitcoin rose to be worth several $1,000s per unit by a community of roughly 200,000 people all over the world, maintaining roughly 33,000 servers, all maintaining the same data, working and synchronizing the data every 10 minutes globally. So community is everything. Community could build a cryptocurrency, and a community could destroy a cryptocurrency. And we come into this world where peer-to-peer rights, e-accommodation, commerce, loans, digital identity, reputation, everything is codified, everything is on the internet, and everything is extremely valuable. No taxi driver wants to have a 4-star rating. They all want 5 stars. They all want Airbnb hosts. They want to have good reviews. So this need for worldwide trust and the need to relay information in a trusted manner without it being hacked or tampered with is extremely, extremely important. And so the need for secure and hack-free info is urgent more than ever. And that's where blockchain comes in. And that's why it comes at such a critical time in our evolutionary lifetime. So let's talk a little bit about creating trust in the world's most skeptical community, the vegan community. So veganNation is basically an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem for vegans and non-vegans alike, but it's providing vegan services to help people, vegans and non-vegans alike, to lead an easy, accessible, and maintainable vegan lifestyle. So the first platform in our ecosystem is the food sharing platform, which very much aligned with the blockchain philosophy. We're building a decentralized vegan cuisine where every vegan all over the world has the power to be their own agents for change. So every vegan person, wherever they are in the world, they can open up their home and become their own vegan restaurant. And people all over the world can buy meals from them. If I'm in Kenya for the weekend and Joey from Nairobi hosts a vegan dinner, if I'm in the area, I could go and join him for a vegan dinner, and I don't need to go to a meat restaurant and, hope that they have a vegan option. So it's basically giving the 300 million plus vegans out there that are everywhere in the world, in all countries, from all age ranges, religious backgrounds, ethnicities, and race, giving all of them the opportunity to be their force for change. The second platform in our ecosystem is e-commerce. It's a one-stop shop for all things vegan, because being vegan is way more than what you eat. It's what you consume. It's the entire footprint you leave on the planet, and our desire to minimize our footprint on the planet. And so we're using blockchain to basically verify every single stage of the processing of any product sold and traded on the platform. So blockchain allows for supply chain transparency, where you could see where product X was produced, whether the people producing it were paid a fair wage, whether it was made of ethically sustainable materials. And you have companies now helping towards complete supply chain transparency by having this technology in place where basically you'll be able to take a little sample of whatever product goes through the supply chain, send it into a sensory black box, check that all materials are in fact from the materials agreed in the smart contracts, and only after everything was verified, it moves on in the supply chain until it gets to the consumer. And every single stage of that will be documented on the public network of ledgers, and it will be impossible to tamper with, and it will be impossible to fake it. And so we will, for the vegan community, for the first time ever, we will have the ability to actually put our money where our mouths are. So it's extremely exciting. It's exciting for me as a vegan to have the possibility of buying products and knowing for a fact that they are from positive and cruelty-free sources. Now, I want to say, bring up a point again. We brought it up with the blockchain versus the giant tech companies, is that they provide us services, but they're great, and we're just the users. Blockchain is the exact opposite. It gives us the technology, the infrastructure to allow us to be great. The same here with veganNation. We're not giving you finished products. We're giving you the technological infrastructure to allow you to be great. We can't open a vegan restaurant everywhere in the world, but we are giving you the infrastructure to host vegan meals everywhere in the world. We're not going to sell you vegan products. We are going to give business owners the technological infrastructure they need to sell their products and prove to their consumers that they're in fact cruelty-free and made with ethically viable products. The same is with our last platform, the content sharing platform. It's a user-generated haven with world-renowned bloggers to simple, bloggers like me posting a post every day or every other day. It is recommendation-based. It's you get rewarded with vegan coin based on engagement, and so it's really just providing you the infrastructure to be great. Anyone who joins the platform, the social content sharing platform, at its early stages and posts good content that generates meaningful engagement, they could earn a very respectable amount of vegan coins just by the incentivization program in place. So if any of you have heard about Steemit, Steemit is a similar content sharing platform where it's a user-generated platform and users get rewarded, but that's with dollars. We're going to be working with vegan coin, which brings me to the next point about vegan coin. Oh, sorry. I'm going the opposite. Vegan coin. It's the economic driving force behind our nation. And why do we need vegan coin for veganation? Because our services are really not dependent on vegan coin. But we are of the strong belief that a nation is as strong as its economy, and the economy is as strong as its currency. And we are bringing forward the strongest and the most united nation in the world. And in order to show the world our purchasing power, we need to show them the value behind our currency. What happens when a community congregates on a blockchain, congregates around a currency? What happens then? So you remember I spoke about Bitcoin and Ethereum and the networks that they have. So Bitcoin has around 33,000 servers, while Ethereum has roughly 50,000 servers last I checked, but it always changes. There's always servers coming down and servers coming up. But my point is that the value generated from Bitcoin is only from a community of roughly 200,000 people. Ethereum, the value generated out of Ethereum is from a community of around 300,000 people. If you add the top 10 cryptocurrencies, add up the communities behind them, you will not reach 3 million people. Now, the vegan community all over the world, there's 300 million plus vegan people in developed countries around the world. And it's the fastest growing market, and it's the fastest growing community. Imagine that at least 1% of the most dedicated, the most idealistic, and the most optimistic vegans decide to use vegan coin to buy their vegan products. 1% of the vegan community is 3 million users. And so it's an amazing potential locked up behind the vegan community. And we have to recognize it, and we have to understand that if we gather together and we work together to build a resilient, a distributed blockchain network for the vegan community and use a cryptocurrency that is cruelty-free by nature, the sky is not the limit. I'll tell you more than that. There are currently 23 currencies in the world that in order to print them, they use animal products and plastic in them. And so when you use actual fiat money, you're transacting in non-vegan money. And so it's just something to keep in mind. I want to show you, if you Google the most volatile fiat currencies in the world, you're going to be very, very surprised because as you can see, the volatility with Forex for the euro and dollar was per day for the last month has been 75.35 points. The Japanese yen has volatility of 130 points per day. Israel, the Israeli shekel versus the USD has experienced 244 points per day volatility. The Brazilian currency has experienced a 418 points per day volatility. So when people tell me, oh, crypto is not going to work because it's so volatile, the regular financial market, the old school financial market is also extremely volatile. Trump, when he went to Argentina to renegotiate the trade agreements with China and Canada, the stock market dropped by more than 600 points. So everything is volatile now, and we at least want, if you have a choice between two volatile currencies, why would you choose the centralized one that is volatile because of the corrupted people in charge and not something that is owned by the community for the community? I want to have a little philosophical discussion here on what's money and the properties I think it should have. So money should represent value. It should be able to be exchanged for goods or services. Money should be transferred in a trusted manner. Transactions should add and subtract in an agreed upon manner. There should be no double spending. Should there be revocation of money? Should money be recalled or not? Liquidity, it has to be liquid, but should we allow for mass withdrawals, etc.? Money cannot appear out of nowhere. It has to have a well-defined balance per account, and there has to be guarantees against losses. So it's not a answers yes or no. It's just questions you should ask yourself. And you should ask yourself, does fiat money satisfy these requirements? Does cryptocurrencies satisfy these requirements? Should fiat money, be revocable? If there's fake money, there's fake printing money all over the world, shouldn't it be revoked? Shouldn't we have a way to revoke that money, to tell that person, no, you don't have that money in your account? And we simply do not have the technological infrastructure to recall fake money from users' accounts. In crypto money, you do have the ability to burn tokens. If someone stole them or someone took them in a way that was not agreed upon or cheated the system, you have the power as the owner of the smart contract to burn the tokens. Does fiat money take care of double spending? Currently, there's discrepancies between something you would purchase outside of the U.S. versus in the U.S. So if you could do a double spending with something from the outside of the U.S. until it gets verified by the bank in the U.S., you can swipe your card again, and that's how you get overdraft fees and all these amazing fees the banks make so much money off of. So, and blockchain has algorithmic mechanisms to combat double spending. It is physically impossible to double spend on a blockchain network. So again, we have to, as humanity moves forward, we have got to rethink money. We have to rethink the way we think of money and what kind of money we want to own and what kind of money we want to be involved with. The new financial system for the world is the cryptocurrencies as we know it. It's basically giving communities all over the world the power to congregate and trade goods and services that have pre-agreed definitions and in a transparent manner with a trusting system in place that you can trust whatever data is up there. When a transaction gets committed to a block on the Bitcoin network, people trust that that occurred. And it's really an amazing, amazing tool. It's an amazing tool for us to combat corruption, to combat income inequality. I really believe that blockchain has the potential to narrow the income inequality gap, and it's kind of a self-prophesizing statement, because if it has the power to do so, we need people to rise up to the occasion and do it. There was a massive hype of crypto and blockchain for the last 2 years that allowed for large-scale abuse and scam to take place. But we need the people who believe in the power of blockchain, who believe in the power of cryptocurrencies, to rise up and to bring blockchain and bring cryptocurrencies to the place it should be. And if we don't do it, it won't get there. It won't happen magically. And so every person who is angry about scammer ICOs and people taking advantage and who have taken advantage of the hype of crypto and blockchain, if they have a problem with it, start bringing real applications and real use cases forward, because the hype is over. We cannot depend on hype anymore. It's up to the community, it's up to us to bring forth real use cases, real communities, currencies that are really going to strengthen and build new communities all over the world. And so that's why I really believe in veganNation, because we're the only ICO in the world that has a community waiting to embrace it. We have over 400 vegan business owners from all over the world agreeing to accept vegan coin as a payment mechanism when we go live. PETA, the largest and most idealistic and the most aggressive vegan non-for-profit, has endorsed vegan coin and recommends its subscribers to adopt it as their main choice of currency. They're going to accept it as donation mechanisms and purchases on their website as well. The same for Sea Shepherd's Conservation Society. We are really uniting the vegans all over the world, vegan businesses, vegan activists. We're not competing with anyone. We're simply providing technological infrastructure and a new economic architecture to allow the community to be great, to allow each one of the amazing vegan people all over the world to be great. As Google likes to say, I'm sorry to bring us back to Google, but you can make money without doing evil. But Google runs data centers all over the world with zero carbon footprint through solar and windmill offsets. But money is not a magic wand. It's a measuring stick. It's not a wealth It's not wealth, but it's a gauge of it. Whereas money in Google era is, you know, a $5 trillion a day currency exchange, which is 5 times larger than the actual currency, the actual money, the actual capital in the world. 5 times of it is traded every day with the help of Google all over the world. And so the statement that you could make money without doing evil, I'm sorry, but the way Google and the other large tech companies have been doing it, it's impossible. You cannot be the head. You cannot have centralized power. You cannot have a few computers in charge of so much data and money and say you're not doing evil for the planet. So anyways, blockchain really has the potential to rid us of the centralized and corrupt powers. They have the potential to redesign humanity as humanity's social structure as we know it, and cryptocurrency is what makes me optimistic about the future, cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So I'm going to open, I know there was a lot said. I'm going to open the floor for questions. I am going to unmute everyone, and people who have questions. Hello. Does anybody have questions?
Hi there.
Hi.
I have a comment and a question. So first of all, great presentation. I loved it. I thought it was very insightful, especially the example about the tech corporations. I wanted to add about, I think you touched upon it, companies like Visa and MasterCard and all the others are charging large fees on purchases that people don't realize. And also there's an exchange, when you purchase something from abroad, there's an exchange rate, and people don't realize that when they buy something, like the producers have to overcharge them by 7 to 10% just to take care of all those platforms. So I think that, the platform, like cryptocurrencies right now are still in a very low adoption stage. But I think that the cryptocurrency that's going to make people realize how much they're going to.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree with you on that.
I think that the veganNation's has the opportunity to be that. And I wanted to ask you about the business model. So what kind of structure is there when you say that the vegan coin? Thank you.
Sorry, I can't hear you very clearly. You wanted to ask about the business model. What? Yeah, Elle? Okay, and if I understood your question correctly, what is the business model of vegan coin? Vegan coin will not take any processing fees for any of its transactions. It's going to be seamless and instant to transfer money to each other. And again, it will take time for the transaction to commit on the blockchain network, but it's going to be, veganNation is not taking transaction fees off of it. The e-commerce platform will take 5%. It will take, sorry, someone is, I need someone to mute themselves because there's noise in the background. Let's put a little pasta in your bowl here, or? Mute everyone. Hey guys, hi again. Sorry, my computer died and I had to go recharge it. I apologize. I saw a question from a viewer. What if a better blockchain comes in the future? Will veganation be able to switch easily from Ethereum? For example, have you considered EOS? So yes, we have considered other blockchains at the moment. Ethereum is the most trusted and the most decentralized network to launch off of. However, when we do reach a critical mass in our community, we will transfer off of Ethereum. We'll either switch to a better blockchain network or create one of our own. Any other questions from our viewers? Thank you for your patience and bearing with me while I recharge my computer. Everybody's muted, so if you have a question, maybe send it in the chat. I've unmuted everyone, so you could just ask it out loud or you could type it in, whatever you choose. There will be 2 more minutes of questions. What does a better blockchain mean? That is a great question. So my criteria for a good blockchain is A, how many ledgers, how many servers are maintaining the blockchain all over the world. So EOS has significantly less computers than Ethereum. So even though EOS might be developing an amazing technology, they have not reached the size and the distribution power that Ethereum has. So it's about size of community. It's about the number of servers all over the world. It's whether it's mineable or not. I don't like cryptocurrencies that are mineable because it gives people the incentivization to own a lot of computational power to become, super miners and to have, unbalanced power on that blockchain. So a better blockchain could also mean it has a better protocol and it gives the developers, or for example, Ethereum, they developed their own language, Solidity, and they gave you an amazing test environment to test your code and test what you're writing before you commit it to the network. So it's about a developer environment, how easy it is to deploy applications on that network, how big the network is, how environmentally friendly it is, how much computational power a transaction takes, how much waste is involved with it. So all these questions together, and I believe that the market and innovators from all over the world are working to find a blockchain that is environmentally more friendly, that is larger in size and more distributed than Bitcoin or Ethereum. So I hope that question is satisfactory. Someone asked me, what do I do at veganNation? I am a software engineer. I was leading the smart contracts development and blockchain implementation at veganNation, and I'm working on several different features for our platform that we're going to launch at the end of the public sale. So I'm a software engineer. I call myself a blockchain developer, a smart contracts developer. But yeah, I've been a software developer. I am a software developer, and I love technology, and I specifically love blockchain and crypto. So that's that. 2 points. viewer 20, 2 points, but, oh, 1, we're building a vegan marketplace in India and plan to charge reasonable commission with sharing community approach. Would love to have a page about you. Fantastic. Send me an email at rena@veganNation.io and we could talk about it some more. Viewer 34, which digital currency is more likely to become nationwide popular to send transactions and to disrupt the fiat currency? So this, I am not very objective here, but I try to be as objective as possible in answering questions. But obviously, it's vegan coin. And I'm not just saying this because I'm vegan and I believe in crypto and I believe in blockchain and I would love to see vegan coin become the most powerful coin in the world. But vegan coin has the most powerful community in the world. The vegan community, if you think about it for a minute, okay, the Bitcoin community, they called them crazy anarchists, extremists, criminals, whatever, and they have gotten Bitcoin this far. Now, take a back seat and just look at the vegan community. We are the most passionate community in the world. We're the least lazy. We're the most compassionate because most vegans became vegan out of moral or, you know, personal pain of how animals are treated. Vegans are not cheap. You know, it's not cheap to be vegan, yet we will go and spend that extra buck to buy something that is more ethical. And so you have the most incredible community. I saw the new, I have a great answer for you, just a minute. So you have this amazing community that I believe will make vegan coin one of the most powerful currencies in the world. So I think vegan coin will be the most powerful. So viewer 20 pointed out that PETA is accused of euthanizing many domestic animals. Has veganNation any views or had investigations before partnering? Absolutely. And Isaac Thomas, the CEO of veganNation, he met with the chief marketing officer of PETA, and he brought up that point. And he told him that the reason why this news came out was because people come to the PETA headquarters and they drop off the sickest dogs, the sickest cats and dogs that have no hope whatsoever of surviving, terrible diseases, terrible disabilities, and they don't know what to do with it, so they go and they drop it off at the PETA headquarters. And PETA, the most humane thing to do is relieve them of their pain and suffering, and so it euthanized them, and that's the truth. However, I will say that people completely twisted what PETA did, and they're unaware of how those animals came to PETA and why PETA euthanized them. So that's the full background story of why PETA euthanizes these dogs and cats, and it's sadly the most humane thing to do to them after humans abuse them or abandoned them. So any other questions? Well, I thank you all for joining the webinar this week. I wish you all a fantastic rest of the week, and we shall meet again under a different topic and a different webinar. Have a great night. Bye-bye.